Hello, my name's Gillian Kendall and I'm a careers advisor for the University of Central Lancashire. And today I'm going to give you a short, three-quarters of an hour session on careers and employability. So what I'm going to do is now share my screen, and then hopefully I can run you through some slides that I've compiled, and also to have a look at some different areas that you can consider now you are in your second year. So like I say, I'm the Careers and Employability for the School of Biomedical Sciences and Pharmacy. So by the end of the session, hopefully today, you will be aware of the importance of work experience, where and how you can access careers, and also hopefully you'll be aware of the importance of selling your skills and maybe to think about your unique selling point. So with regards to careers, everything at the moment is online. So we were before lockdown based in the Foster building and in the entrance to Foster. But unfortunately, because of obviously things out of our control, then we're working from home at the moment. So currently what we're offering is 45-minute appointments, which are online, and you can book those online using the Career Edge link there, or you can ring up the Careers Centre, and I've got that those details on the slide next, and also you can email us. So with regards to these 45-minute appointments, what we can offer you is like careers planning. We can look at what career you want to go into, how you can get there, and basically what you can be doing to help yourself get there. So we'll be looking at that, looking at short to medium and long-term career goals. We can also talk to you with regards to if then you completely know where you want to go. It's all to do with pharmacy. We can then talk to you if you wanted to about the difference in your placements, how the Oriel process works, different things like that, and we can also conduct a mock interview. So those are things that we can do in a 45-minute appointment. We can also as well look through your CV and maybe any application forms if then you're looking to maybe do some additional work experience. If obviously 45 minutes is too much of your time, then we can do a 20-minute mini appointment. And these used to be drop-in appointments, but unfortunately, we can't do drop-ins for obvious reasons. So basically, you can book one of those online, and those are a sharp burst of introduction to career planning. People can tell you how to navigate Career Edge, but hopefully I'll go into that in a moment, and you should find it quite seamless with the introduction I'll do, to have a look at your CV and covering letter and get those critiqued, maybe to help you to put together a LinkedIn profile, job searching, and all those things. So really at Careers, what we want to do is help you as best we can. If you've obviously had a change of mind with regards to your career and you're unsure where your career is going to be taking you, or if obviously you know what you want to do and it's the employability side that you need help with, the CV, the application forms, the where to look, etc., then again we can help you with regards to that. So please get in contact with us. So like I say, we were based in Foster, and obviously when everything's all back to normal, then we'll be back in Foster up until the big massive new building is built, and then all student services will be based in there along with ourselves. So that is the telephone number for future reference, and also you can email Careers, and this is how then you can get online and access to Career Edge, and also you can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. So with regards to Career Edge, I will go on to Career Edge now, and hopefully this should be quite seamless and take me into Career Edge, and I'll be able to just navigate a few things for you. So this is our dashboard. If you go to Blackboard and you look for our careers logo and click on the careers logo, it will then take you to where you need to input your student username and password. Once you put in your student username and password, you will then come to our Career Edge system. So when it comes to both the careers planning and employability side of things, Career Edge has got a whole host of information on here. So for example, if you go under the popular tools section, as you can see there, you can get help with regards to building and compiling your CV in the top one. If then you want to get involved with some of our events and find out what our events are, then you can then go onto that one and that will take you into there. If you're struggling to put together a covering letter, then you would need to go in there and it gives you a blow-by-blow account of how to put together a covering letter. With the interview simulator, this section is really, really useful, and probably more so now that a lot of interviews are taking place online and virtually. For yourself, you will have MMIs as part of the oral process. So you will be having a lot of short bursts of interviews. So for you to be able to have a platform that you can go on and practice, and you can simulate certain questions, you can record yourself to see how then you answered that question, and you can then look back at yourself and critique that. Or you might want to show it to a family member and they could critique that. It could then be that preparation for you and to give you that confidence, hopefully, to then maybe then come for a mock interview, and we will then conduct a mock interview for you. So whether it's to do with the MMIs, which will hopefully be taking place next year, whether it's the MMIs or whether it's maybe you're going for a part-time job or something like that, then you can use that interview simulator and you can use careers appointments, and we can then conduct interviews. With regards to assessment centres, if you decide that then you're going to go on to a summer placement at one of the big pharmaceutical companies, which you are then hoping would enhance your job prospects, then you could then go on the assessment centre tool. It tells you about assessment centres, how to be successful in assessment centres, what you need to do to prepare, and how it is split up in the day. So that is a really useful resource to use, and it roughly takes about 30 minutes to go through that. As far as aptitude tests are something that a lot of employers are starting to use, and whether it's an aptitude test you have to do as an online assessment, or whether it's something like, for example, the formal ORIEL process, where you'll have to do aptitude tests, which will be the numerical testing and also situation judgment. So on this section here, aptitude tests, you can then practice those particular tests, and you can try to see about your accuracy, but also as well your speed. We feel that perfecting your elevator pitch is extremely important, because the time it takes to get from one floor to another, for an elevator to get from one floor, is 60 seconds. And we feel that 60 seconds to promote yourself within an interview is so very important. So this section here really helps you to then formulate your elevator pitch. So within that section, as you can see, there is a lot of resources that you could then use with regards to your employability. For searching for jobs, whether that part-time jobs or as well pharmacy jobs, and looking at jobs within the pharmaceutical industry, industry reports and company directory are extremely beneficial. As far as increasing your LinkedIn network, you might want to then click into that, and that could be really useful. We'll talk about that later. If you're struggling to think about your motivations to work and what your skills are and where your strengths lie, then some of these online assessments could also be useful for you when starting to think about compiling or updating your CV, or whether it's come to doing a job interview. So those are really on the top dashboard, really important sections to navigate, but also as well at the bottom, these boxes will also take you to where you can book appointments online, which is within here, also about what Careers offers, and then looking at your schools pages. So please take time to have a look and navigate around Career Edge. So with regards to the PowerPoint, it's then continuing now and then thinking about what events. We looked on Career Edge and said that there was on there about events, and there is events that UCLAN will be running, which is a biosciences careers fair that'll be on the 11th of February, and then we're doing some main careers events and insight events across November as well. So again, becoming familiar with Career Edge now in your second year, it'd be really beneficial for you going into your third and into your fourth year. There's also as well an NHS What Career Live, that's also in November, so I suggest that you look into that. You can Google that, but also I've got the link to that at the end of this presentation that you'd then be able to access. So I would really say about looking at these virtual events, about getting involved in these, just to gain some more insight that could help you with regards to your moving on process, but also as well with regards to maybe building up your networks. So with regards to the pharmaceutical industry, so 5 out of the top 20 best-selling drugs were developed in the UK. 34.8 billion was spent on UK pharmaceutical research and development in 2017. And the UK has a strong domestic pharmaceutical industry, and the government is really putting a lot of financial input into this area, because again, they're wanting to really grow in the hope that it can compete with other European counterparts. With regards to the UK, we do export a significant amount of pharmaceuticals and drugs. We export those to the USA, Germany, Spain, France, and the Netherlands, and we're constantly developing new technology and wanting innovating ideas and new perspectives on things. So with regards to yourself and thinking about your next step and pre-reg and moving forward, it's still insightful to know these statistics and this information, just in case you want to diversify with your career, but also as well to understand your industry as a whole. So obviously, you know, the amount of drugs and development that are going into this research and development is obviously then going to be helping significantly the patients that you then could be treating in the next couple of years. So moving forward and thinking about you in just at the start of your second year, I feel that it's a good time to start to do some self-reflection. And self-reflection is only useful when it's followed by thoughtful action. So again, you can self-reflect as much as you want, but then if you don't then take on board what you've reflected and maybe identified those significant skills you've got and maybe those gaps that you may have, then self-reflection isn't necessarily going to be a useful tool. So what I would say to you is to then start to think about doing that self-assessment, to then think about your strengths and how you can demonstrate those to an employer. How confident are you in your knowledge, your abilities, and how confident are you about the experience that you've got now, thinking about next year and applying for things? How do you think that you'll be able to put that forward? Are you confident in that? Are there any gaps in your experience or your knowledge that maybe over this next 12 months you'll really be able to develop that further alongside your studies to really give yourself the best possible chance with regards to your next steps, whether it's in community placements, whether it's in NHS placements, whatever that might be? Are you giving yourself the best head start? So, you know, just have a think about that. And what I would say to you is to think about that self-assessment. And I would say over these next 5 minutes, so put this presentation on hold, and for 5 minutes, just think about your strengths. What are you really good at? And if you were sat down with me now, how would you demonstrate that you are so good at these strengths and you've got those skills? How would you demonstrate those? What examples would you give me? So I'd ask you to take 5 minutes. So another task that I want you to do, again, just spending 5 minutes, is to look at this list of transferable skills and how would you then demonstrate those? A recent study was taken by Future Jobs, and it interviewed a significant amount of employers, asking them what their top skills were that they were looking for their graduates, and they said that the top 80% of employers said that the communication and interpersonal skills were the most significant that an employer was looking for. You think about your industry, you think about whether it's within research and development, or you think about actually being a pharmacist. How significant and how important is communication, whether that be to the patients you're serving, whether it be to your team, whether it be to the doctors or nurses within a hospital and other professionals, or whether it's then within the community and dealing with all the different healthcare community agencies. How significant is that? It's extremely significant, isn't it? So how would you then demonstrate to an employer that you've got significant communication skills or interpersonal skills? How would you demonstrate that? And then when we're talking about communication skills, do you understand then what that means? Is it then via email, or is it then to demonstrate over the phone, face to face? Then also as well, bearing in mind about virtually, how important and significant that is. So 50% of employers have also said about creativity and innovation, about critical thinking, problem solving, IT skills and digital skills, and adaptability and flexibility. These are all really important skills that the broad spectrum of employers are looking for. Some employers will obviously want specific skills, but by and large, most of the employers will then be looking at this. If you look at the NHS values, or you look at some of the values of the community pharmacists, then you will find that by and large, organisations will be looking at these skills. So how would you demonstrate those skills? So I would ask you over the next 5 minutes just to pause this recording and see how you could demonstrate that you hit these skills. So again, these are a significant amount of transferable skills. How would you as well demonstrate these to an employer? Do you think that these employers really want these skills? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to them? And this is where I think in your second year, you should be starting to spend just a little bit of time. I'm not asking you to forego your studies, obviously not. This is just to then look at these things, give them, you know, a little bit of time just to think about, right, if you were asked this in an interview, how would you answer it? And then if you feel that you can't answer it, well, how would you then get the managing and leading others? How is that possible? Could maybe then in your part-time job, look at maybe taking on some supervisory role? Is that possible? Asking your employers whether that would be possible. Team working, can you demonstrate that effectively to maybe something that's away from university? Can you indicate to your employer how resilience, how you've shown that, and patience? So again, it's more so thinking about the skills you inherently have and the skills you developed on your course, and showing to an employer and demonstrating to an employer how you can actually prove that you can do these skills and implement them into the workplace. So now, when we've talked about self-reflection, you know, it's inwardly looking at yourselves. So what about now thinking about the careers? So what can you do with your degree? So clearly in your degree, there's quite a defined path. However, it doesn't distinctively have to mean that you are then going to be either a community pharmacist or a hospital pharmacist, because now there's also other pharmacists that, like, such as the industrial pharmacist, there's also the split placements of community and hospital that are also available, which again, in your second year, it's to see if you can find out more information with regards to these different career ideas that maybe you're not necessarily thought of. What about maybe even going into the armed forces? Had you thought about that as an option, and about how they've got pharmacists, even on cruise ships as well? You know, there's pharmacists who deal on with people on cruise ships. So again, just think about those differing options. And then when we think of maybe indirect careers that are relevant to yourself, there's obviously a career in medicine, physician associate, but again, scientific writer, regulation affairs officer, because of your scientific mind and your scientific understanding, these other options are also available to you. So please spend some time in your second year just to get abreast of what is actually out there for you and those alternatives, because then it could be that you could start doing some research to see how then you could achieve one of these particular roles. So when we've looked at the career area, then for yourself, it might be a case of that you have a defined career area, you know what you want to do. So when it then comes to, for example, if it is then to be a pharmacist, can you demonstrate enough work experience for that employer to feel that they would give you an opportunity, whether that be for a placement, a short summer placement, whether that be for work experience, or whether that be for your REL application? Can you demonstrate that experience? So maybe at the moment, no, you can't demonstrate that experience. So I would ask you to think about maybe any voluntary work that you might be able to do. Now, obviously, voluntary organisations have taken a little bit of a battering with regards to their funding at the moment. However, don't let the press skew your ideas and skew your passion if that is what you want to do. There is still volunteers needed out there, and whether it is directly related to what you want to go into or indirectly related, think about those transferable skills and how you think that that can create a positive impression to an employer, and what that then shows and demonstrates to that employer. UCLan have in the past every year done a Europe work experience, and that Europe is an internship that is paid for 8 weeks, and it's a scientific paid internship. So it might be that you want to start to look into that, see where you could find it on the UCLan website, and then just to get more of an understanding of what that Europe is. So then you might maybe then want to apply, which probably would be that you'd look into it in spring next year. Yes, so placements for community pharmacies, and also then summer placements for hospital pharmacies, and there's also internships with regards to organisations such as GSK and AstraZeneca. When you're thinking of these big internships, you need to start to be thinking about those now, and thinking about those companies. They generally recruit up until Christmas, because then they start to do their recruitment after Christmas, and you would then do it next summer. So be mindful of that, because if you're not then quick off the mark, then it could be that then you miss these opportunities. So in the past, Health Education England have come up with a list of placement opportunities within the Northwest for pharmacy students. As you can see, this is in 2018, and I have tried by hook or by crook from 2019 and also this year to get a more up-to-date list, but it's like gold dust. So I would then suggest with this, with regards to the summer placements, using those names on the right-hand side of this document, with regards to those organisations, use the person's name on the right-hand side and contact those particular organisations, and ring and try and speak to that person. So, for example, Liverpool Heart and Chest, Paul Sanderson. So giving them a ring, trying to speak to Paul Sanderson and asking him whether he's got any summer placements for summer 2021. If not, when would they, do they? You know, asking all those sorts of questions. With regards to Lancashire NHS Teaching Trust, they do have some work experience opportunities which are unpaid. So you could contact the NHS and come to me for more to ask me more details, and I can give you those if you book an appointment. And those opportunities can be in other departments, which again could be extremely beneficial. You could maybe see how different departments actually communicate and work with the pharmacy. So you might not necessarily be getting that work experience within the pharmacy, but you could see how they work with other departments and, you know, what collaborations they are maybe working, and that could then build on your work experience and things to talk about in interview and on your CV. So like I say, please use this as reference, because I've tried as I can to try and get an up-to-date list, and that hasn't been to any fruition. As far as then indirectly relevant work experience, if you find yourself with no experience whatsoever, whether that be within a pharmacy or anywhere, you might then think, well, actually, I can get some transferable skills by maybe doing a virtual internship. There are organisations out there that are offering virtual internships to do short projects to help an employer, and you would then get paid for that. You would need to obviously think it's within a business environment, but again, a pharmacy and pharmaceutical industry, it's all a business. It's run as a business. So you might then find that this is going to be beneficial to you as you then progress within your studies, and then whether it's pre-reg or whether it's within a different career. So look into virtual internships, because then you could find that they could be really beneficial to you. We've touched on the NHS, and obviously we're saying about hospital placements, but also think of the NHS for other opportunities. We touched on the work experience, and Brittany is the link for the one here in Preston and Chorley, and there'll be other links with other trusts within the country that you could then contact to see if you can do that work experience on maybe in different wards, different departments, or whether that's maybe even to see if you can do anything with regards to pharmacy. But also as well, the NHS has other programmes such as the Scientific Training Programme, STP. This is whereby you, the NHS will pay you to do a master's, and it will be a 3-year long master's. You would then, like I say, have that master's paid for, and that would be then after the end of it, you would then be a clinical scientist. You would need to have a 2-1 or above science-based qualification, but this opportunity would be available to you. So obviously you can't apply for this opportunity at the moment. However, to start now in second year before all your deadlines starting to loom, to think about this as an option, to see what it's about, what you could do, what areas they would be looking to recruit for. And you might find that this is an option that you would want to consider. Also, the NHS offer management training programmes. So again, these are after you finish your degree, and they would be the full management training programme is a 2-year opportunity, but they also do an additional management scheme, which is for 12 months, and that's run in conjunction with the Department of Health, Skills and Social Care. So you might find that you want to get more involved in the business side of things, that you really want to promote and support the patients, but more in the business side of things. So please consider these as options. With regards to your employability, we've talked about placements that you could look for, work experience, paid, unpaid, volunteering. There's also thinking about, well, where would you look for work? So it'd be a case of using Career Edge, also maybe using contacts that you have with regards to pharmacies, thinking about pharmacies that are around your area. But also when we think of the pharmaceutical industry, then we can think of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a social media platform for professionals. It's a professional capacity. It's pretty much run like Facebook and Instagram, whereby people will update things on their profession, funding that they may have secured for particular projects, etc., etc. But LinkedIn has 645 million users, and it's available in 24 languages. But most importantly, they've got 20 million jobs advertised on the platform, with 30 million companies as well on there. You've got to think about how you can utilise this and how you can use it to your advantage. You can search and look for previous alumni to see how maybe they've got from where they were. to obviously where they are now. You could then be asking them questions, following them to see what they're posting and what they're up to. You could also as well search companies, and you can then get a list of all the different employees that work there. So for example, GSK, you could then start to type that in. You will then see all the different employees that work there, and you can then look at that to deem how particular roles you could contact them, because they might be able to then give you an insight into what they're doing and how they got to where they got to. But also by following these organisations, you get to see when they're taking on and when they're recruiting, because that is also put on LinkedIn. So I would really seriously again say for yourself as a second year, before all deadlines are looming, to think about LinkedIn and building a good profile for yourself. And again, careers can help with regards to that, whether it be using our resources online or coming to see us for a 45-minute appointment, and we can talk through how you can make best use of LinkedIn and your profile. So with regards to LinkedIn, you might want to then put your CV online, but also as well, if you're then going to be wanting to apply for these employment opportunities and to make sure as well that you're employable, then your CV, do you know what headings you need to put on a CV, how long it has to be, how many seconds they say that an employer takes to read your CV, and also, is one CV for all jobs? So I'll just get you to think about that. So basically a CV, how long should it be? Well, really your CV should be no more than 2 sides long, because an employer only has between 5 to 10 seconds to digest your CV and to decide whether they would then want to bring you for an interview. So again, they're just digesting and looking at your CV to pick out the main points to assess whether they then would invite you for an interview. So a CV should always be revised and restructured in relation to that particular job that you're going for. The headings should really look like this. Your personal details should be clear, and if you've got an email address, make sure that it is a professional email address, and also that email address, it's definitely working. Make sure your telephone number, that is correct and is up to date. It should then be followed by a personal or professional summary, which should be no more than 4 to 5 lines long. This should then be giving a brief synopsis whilst also selling you to an employer about why they should take you on and what you are then looking for. You can then put in a skills section, which I would say to bullet point what you feel your best skills are, and put those at the top of your CV, roughly about 5, no more than 5 bullet points. Then your education should detail what courses, what qualifications, where you've studied, and again, that should be brief and succinct. It's obviously got to go starting with UCLan first, and also I would say to put either 2 or 4 key modules that you think would be of interest to an employer. Your employment experience section, again, detailing clearly about what work you've done and where you've done it. You can then have an additional information section if maybe you've done a particular project that you feel doesn't go under any of the other headings, or you might even want to put your voluntary work within there, but I would say to consider that, because again, it's within your experience. So again, additional information, anything that you think is then maybe relevant, any additional courses that you've maybe done within university or college that you think are then important, you can put in there. We would say to do a hobbies and interests section, because again, sometimes it could be those interests that you've got with your managers or fellow colleagues that also could draw your attention to that particular employer. So think about putting a short hobbies and interests section in there. Then references, to put references available on request. So again, because I'm not with you now, what I would want you to do is hold this presentation and then go on to Career Edge. So log into Career Edge using your student username and password, go via Blackboard and upload your CV to CV360. So CV 360 is a very short review that happens online, and I think it's roughly 5 seconds that it takes to give you some feedback, and it's looking at the structure, the headings, and what the content is of your CV. So I would ask you to upload that and get it reviewed, and then after that I would ask for you to then get it further reviewed, which it will then ask you to do on the system by a careers advisor, and we can then really critique the content of your CV, look at maybe any spelling mistakes and grammar, and give you that feedback within 3 to 5 working days. So again, when we're thinking about your employability, one of those is to look at your CV. It's to make it concise, informative, but also catchy to an employer. But one of the things as well is for interviews. So again, in your second year at this moment in time, you might be starting to think about going for and applying for jobs, but maybe you've not had an interview before. So again, like I say, to utilise careers and the resources that are online, and also to come to us for a mock interview, and that will then help you then for this next step with your employability. So interviewers take on average less than a minute to decide if a candidate is right. 3/4 of the interviews are lost within 3 minutes of entering the room, and not necessarily physically entering the room, but also entering a room virtually. 3/4 of those then are lost due to probably poor internet connection, how the person's presented, where they are in the house, are they being disturbed, does it look professional, are you coming across professionally virtually? So again, you need to really be assessing this. So 24% create a first impression of the candidate when interviewing. So 24% go off the first impression. 25% of interviewers were put off by a weak handshake. So obviously at this moment in time, that's probably going to be not something that you're going to be greeted with. One, because it's virtually, and two, because it's then maybe managerial roles. But again, going forward, to think about how your physical presence could also affect people's perceptions. 24% say poor body language, and 18% poor posture is then going to have some effect on your interview experience. So I'm hopefully going to show this clip, and I don't know whether some of you have seen it, but when thinking about your presence online, and specifically when you're doing an interview, think about where you're actually positioning yourself. Are you in a dark room that they can't really see your face, so you can't be giving good eye contact? Are you feeling confident in the room that you're in, so then that comes across to employers? Or is it something whereby so I think bear that in. So as we can see from that clip, that it's very important how you come across. That individual sort of didn't flinch, but if you go back and watch it, you can see him with his eyes that he's trying not to get flustered. However, you can see that it's knocked him off kilter, and also as well with the person that's interviewing him. So you've just got to bear that in mind. I'm sure nothing like this would ever happen to you, and I think it's just a good example to show that, even with the best intentions, you're not necessarily going to be expecting your sister, brother, mum, whoever coming into the room and then disturbing the interview. It might be, even for some, a light relief. For others, it could be something that completely knocks you off your guard, and it really puts you off your flow, and that could then have unforeseen consequences with regards to that. So, you know, when you're thinking about interviews, we're more so at the moment thinking online. Make sure you get yourself somewhere that is secure. It's a good setup where you're going to be comfortable and you know you're not going to be disturbed. And also dress appropriately, dress professionally. So again, when you're dressing, hopefully it gives you that power dressing, that then you feel really powerful and prepared for the challenge of the interview, rather than maybe just having professional attire from the top upwards, rather than from the downwards. We've heard in careers different employers are asking people to stand up even in their interviews so they can see what they're wearing. Now, that's come from some students. I don't know what employers they are, but again, please just bear these things in mind, that employers are obviously getting people to do. So with regards to resources, here is a lot of information with regards to getting information for Oriel, with regards to Career Edge, again, with regards to aptitude tests, assessment centres, looking for work, and also with regards to pharmacy, by using prospects and other means as well. So, you know, obviously feel free to go onto these sites and have a look to see if then it can improve your understanding of your career and your position that you're considering about going to. So finally, consider other options. Consider other things that are out there. So maybe you didn't know about the scientific training program. Go back and revisit that. Just have a look at it. Just familiarize yourself with it. So at least then you know that you can dismiss that as an option, or you might then want to consider that as an option. So, you know, consider those things, but also consider your employability. Are you there with regards to your CV? Is that a good CV? Are you there with regards to your interviews? So consider that. So think about that and think about maybe booking a careers appointment to come and talk to us about that. But also as well, if you're unsure about your career and unsure whether then it's definitely pharmacy that you then want to go into, you know, the community hospital pharmacy, and whether that's definitely for you, you know, come in and speak to us, and we can talk about how we can put a plan together of your short, medium, long-term goals, and looking at your strengths and identifying your skills. So there was that point in the presentation with regards to that self-assessment, and I think that's really valuable in your year 2, to make sure then now you don't leave it till midway through your year 3. You're applying to all these different Oriel posts, you're putting them in your preferences, and then next thing you go for your MMIs and it doesn't necessarily go according to plan, and maybe then with regards to your preferencing, you lower down the preferencing because you haven't got those experiences within your interview to demonstrate how you would then be suitable as a pharmacist. So please, 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 you know, if you can only take one thing away from today, please think about that self-assessment and how important that is to relate your skills, knowledge and experience to that employer, and think about how you can demonstrate that. So if you feel at the moment that you haven't got loads of experience, start to think about that, how you're going to get experience outside of your studies by volunteering, part-time work, or clubs and societies, maybe at UCLAN. Look at your CV, look at your LinkedIn profile, and then also utilise social media, but also take heed of the warning of social media to not let your social media footprint affect your job choices, because again, some employers will look on your social media accounts, and obviously if things are then open to the public forum, an employer could be looking at these things and they might not be happy with what they see. So again, I would say to you, you know, make sure with your social networks, your social media networks, that they are closed, and pictures and things like that can only be seen by those who you want them to see, not an employer looking at that before they even interview you. Search for opportunities, record who you've applied to, and then be mindful if you've not heard of an employer to then contact them back within a couple of weeks. Also, as well, study well and gain as much relevant information, relevant experience as you can, and utilise the academic staff who are obviously more than happy to help you. So you've got careers who are really rooting for you and want to help you, and then also your academic staff. And as you can see in the picture behind, that's about a maze. And at the moment, you know, you might have a clear direction about where you want to go, but how are you going to get there? How are you going to get from the start of this maze to either the middle or the end of that maze? So that is what I want you to think about. And hopefully from today, you will take on board a few of the suggestions to start to research, start to look at, so you know that you are one step ahead. So I would at this point then say any questions, but obviously it's recorded, so we can't do that. But please upload your CV to the CV 360 on Career Edge, have a look on Career Edge and look at the job market, look at what's out there and gain experience if need be. So I hope to see some of you, hope to see some of you soon. Thank you very much and goodbye.